And it's going to give them something that now gives them the same amenities they have in larger cities. Go ahead, sir. So the beauty of fiber is it's about speed. What we have today in the community is we have cable or we have telephone lines that we can get our internet from. Businesses may have some fiber in some cases as for enterprise, but the speeds that you get are not the same both ways. The speed that you get whenever you are asking for information is only about 5 to 10% of the speed you get coming down. And as we're all becoming more social media, that's something that we're using, or we're sending up videos, or we want to upload pictures to people that are other members of our family or out there in the world. It takes more bandwidth going out than you have available today, especially when you're in a family environment or a home environment where you've got multiple devices in the house. I've been in telecommunications for, like I said, more than 30 years myself, and my kids grew up in that environment where we always had whatever was the best speed we could possibly get. And there was always the argument when it came homework time of turn the game off to my youngest son because my daughters couldn't do stuff for homework on their laptop. So symmetrical speed, that's the huge benefit. What we're proposing and what we're going to be offering to community is we're not going to be offering 500 megabits per second. Yes, we have that. But we're also offering 1 gigabit per second, and we're also starting you out at 2 gigabits per second. So that's 2 gigabits per second both ways. Now, what you can do with it, have at it. We don't put any sort of limitations on how much you use. Fiber. The difference with fiber and to tell you the technology that exists today is it's going to be a lot cleaner for your community. You won't see electrical boxes, you won't see amplifiers, you won't see those things. With fiber with glass, the speed of light is what you're working with, so much faster, but it's not electrical. It's all light-based. So there will be within your community one facility that is connected to power, and then there's no more power has to run the system. It's called a passive optical network. We don't have contracts. That's another beauty of what we do. We've been in this business long enough, and you guys with public service know that when your residents call in, one of the biggest pain points is always, how do I read my bill, or what is my bill saying about anything they get, because there's so many little line items. Ours is very simple. You pay exactly what the price is. If you're using the auto pay feature and you have the 500 megabit per second service, it's $55. That's it, $55. And that includes any equipment that you need. So we're providing home whole Wi-Fi with what we provide. So make it really, really simple. You've got 500 megabits for 55, a gigabit for 75, and you've got 2 gigabits for 95. And we're not limited with that. With fiber, whenever it comes time as the world upgrades and there's more and more speed needed, you don't have to change anything in the network. You just change the item at home, and you change the item back at where the power is located, plug and play some equipment, and now I can do 10 gigabit, I can do 25 gigabits per second, I can keep up with whatever comes down the pipe. So we're looking at, right now, we've been doing our engineering and design. We have everything ready for the city as far as what the design layout looks like. That's been going on since actually earlier than this, because Ryan, the mayor, we've been talking for the last 6 or 7 months. But all the design work is done now, and we're in the process of beginning to submit permitting. Permitting for where we have to cross a road, permitting where we have to do various different things if we're doing directional bore. We have a right-of-way through the Department of Commerce with the state of Ohio, so there's not anything that has to be done with the city. So the state of Ohio is already taking care of all of that, so we have access to all right-of-ways, and we will work with AES for pole attachments. So we'll begin, actually this timeline moves up. I got word today that AES released multiple poles in your community, and our crews are ready to start before Memorial Day. So we'll be in the market before Memorial Day, and you should see us for your size community be able to construct everything within about 3 to 4 months, and then by the time we do our testing, we won't have to wait till the entire network is built. We'll be able to turn on pockets throughout the community where people can enjoy the service as we move along. What do we look like out in the field? So you should see some images up on the screen that kind of show you. When our construction crews come through, you're going to see various different flags. We're going to always locate. We use OOPS to be able to do all the locates for any sort of utilities that are in the ground. We do ask, and it'll be on our website, that if a resident has an invisible fence or has something that they need us to be aware of in their easement along their property, that they let us know, because that's the one thing we can't identify always is the invisible fence stuff. But there's a location on our website for them to be able to put that in. Directional bore is used. Usually that's only about 15% of our construction process is underground, but we do that when we need to go under streets or roads, and we do that with the permission of the city. Everything is aerial for the most part, so what you see today for your existing telecom utilities, it basically follows the same path. You'll see out in the marketplace, our trucks are always branded. They'll have Omnifiber logos on them. Our construction teams have vests that will always have Omnifiber logos on them, so you'll know exactly where we are. And we're big on communication. Communication is absolutely crucial, so we'll be communicating with the city's public works and everything on a daily basis to let them know exactly what streets our crews are on. Go ahead. There's lots of ways to get in touch with us. Our website, omnifiber.com. You can go to our construction page. You can email us. You can call us. Like I said, the call center for technical support and for customer support is in Milford. You're going to get somebody right here. And then also you have access to our executive team. We want to be as transparent as we can for any questions that you have. So I'll open it up to you. Does anyone have any questions?
Is this just for the city of Greenville, or is it at outlying areas also?
Initially, we always do the center city, and then think of it as a wheel and spoke, and then we're able to expand from that. So our initial phase 1 is building the city.
My daughter lives south of town, and she doesn't have hardly anything.
We certainly would love to take a look at that.
Okay.
Sounds great. Pricing sounds good.
Thank you. We're excited. Like I said, many of the communities like Shelby, Clyde, and Dover who are already active, it's been a huge response, and it's a big difference from what they've had in the past with their incumbent provider.
Brian, what's your last name again?
Bryant McAfee, M-C-A-F-E-E.
In terms of citizens wanting to sign up for your service, are they able to kind of pre-register or let you know that they intend to sign up?
Yes, sir, absolutely. There is a pre-enrollment there's no commitment, but they can go in and put in. That lets us know that as we get things turned up, they'll be the first ones that we call to get scheduled.
And that can be done on the website, I'm assuming,
Yes, sir.
right?
So all of the overhead, you're using the telephone poles that are currently there?
Yes, that's correct.
So how does that-
Unless AES tells us that one, through the make-ready process, needs to be replaced, that's part of what we do as well. But yes, the existing pathway now is what we use.
So who does the current poles belong to? Are you leasing those poles from the telecom company, or how's that work?
Utility, AES owns the majority of the poles in your market. So we obviously have a rental agreement with them where we have to pay, just like any other utility that attaches, there's an attachment fee.
Right. One thing I've noticed, there's been several, phone companies and internet and cable on these poles. There's a lot of wires just hanging that are no longer hooked up. Will they be cleaning up any of that when you're?
Unfortunately, that wouldn't be something we would do. It's the telephone company or the cable company or whatever that left those up there. They're really supposed to do that cleanup.
Yep.
However, if it gets to a point where there's a pole or something, and the AES lets us do this, if there's a pole that's, or a several poles in a row, we'll go underground at that point to not have to worry about the poles.
Got you. Okay. Any other questions from council?
How long has this company been in business? I didn't catch the first part of it.
Sure. Well, we actually physically started our, business started February of 22, but myself, I've been a native Dayton employee that worked with Metronet, you may have heard of, in Greater Dayton, and built out all of North Dayton. So like I said, I've been in the fiber optics business total for about 10 years myself, with various different providers. But here in Ohio, I started out with the Vandalia, Tip City, Troy, Inglewood, Clayton Union, West Milton, Huber Heights, all of those, and built those.
Yeah. You've had pretty good success as far as like outages go? You don't have...
That's the beauty of fiber. You don't have the same issues that you do with electrical impulse services because there is no electricity. And when we build the network for your community, we build it in rings so that if, I mean, you know, you're not going to be able to say that you can't get damage from a backhoe, right?
Right.
Okay, or somebody hits a pole. But the beauty of it is the way that the architecture is built is if it gets caught one place, it's coming in from another direction.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Will you then expand to all over Dark County, or?
We will certainly consider that. Initially, though, as I mentioned,
Yeah,
our
you're
point is we
Greenville.
do the center city first.
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent.
Thank you. Appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the public hearing part, we have the zoning recommendation favorable for fencing.
And to just clarify, so I provided you a copy of the proposed ordinance that if there's no other changes, we would look at passing the next meeting. Essentially, the big changes that happened, a lot of this is the same. The one thing that did come through is there was a clarification for what decorative fencing was. Right now, we require fences that are in front of a property to be decorative fencing. It wasn't really clear about that, so that's the one change that's in there. And then the second change, we have a lot of people come in and request variances when they live on a corner lot, because technically corner lots have two frontages. It impacts the homeowner's ability to put up a privacy fence. What we did is address that in here, that they still have to come and get a variance, but anyone that has a corner lot, the fee for a variance is waived. And so we're still able to deal with them on a case-by-case basis, but strictly because you live in a corner lot, we kind of are dealing with, you don't have to pay $100 now to come in and put up your privacy fence, or at least discuss your options. So those were the two changes.
Good.
And planning and zoning, this has already gone through planning and zoning, correct?
That is correct. And they've recommended this changes to you, so.
So do we need a motion to accept planning and zoning?
And so if there's no public comments on it, I'll draft the legislation for the next meeting on that. And then we can kind of move on to the public hearing on transient housing. So transient housing is just kind of the fancy word, if you will, for Airbnbs or VRBOs. Planning and Zoning Commission looked at that issue as well, because we do have several that operate currently in the city. Technically in the city, there's very few zoning districts that those can be a part of. We haven't received, complaints per se about the ones that exist, but we do want to clean up that issue. And so the recommendation would be to make them conditionally approvals in certain residential districts. Now, what the conditional approval does is it still requires them to come in and get the approval for the transient housing. It allows the Planning Commission to hold a public hearing, and it allows the Planning Commission to put conditions of approval in, so they could say, based upon noise not becoming an issue and that kind of thing. And so it allows them a certain level of control, but it also recognizes that these are currently in the community, they've been in the community for a while, and it kind of cleans up that loose end. So I don't know if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on that issue as well.
Anyone in the public? Okay. Any council, any questions? You want to prepare that then for the next meeting?
Yep, I will get those two together.
On the fencing, Mike, is that 8 feet for a business then? Just clarifying. 8 feet tall, like it can't, but as long as it's 8 feet or under, then they don't need.
Yeah, that's correct. And so we changed the business regulation before, so that hasn't been amended in this current one, but when we amended it, I believe it was in 2021, we did set it at 8 feet.
Okay.
And that's 8 feet as long as it's not in front of the building. Again, that's behind as well.
Right.
Okay. Anyone else would like to come in public hearing?
Jeff Sober, 310 East Park Drive. I wanted to request a committee meeting to discuss waiving of tap fees for the spec warehouse building that I'm looking at doing.
Yep, I will grant that. I'll make an assignment to utility committee on waiving tap fees for the project. What is there a name?
I have an address, just KitchenAid Way.
KitchenAid Way, spec building, right?
Yes.
Do we need a date back on that, Ryan?
Sooner the better.
Flexible.
I mean, how far are we from I mean, we're down the road on tapping it, right?
Yes.
It is a part of the whole package of determining my total cost.
Okay. So you like it sooner the better?
Possible, flexible.
Utility committee, can we have that back for the next meeting?
Yeah,
Sure.
Who's on utility?
Let's see.
North and
Yeah, those three.
Shouldn't be a problem.
there you go.
Okay. We'll have that back for next meeting for either recommendation or not recommendation, and we can prepare legislation possibly for vote on that night. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it the water fees, the water tap in for the building and for the sprinkler systems, two different things, or?
Well, we have a design issue there, I think. If they need to be isolated from each other, and there needs to be backflow prevention, so short answer, I don't know for sure.
So right now, there's just one tap, but we think we're gonna have to split it up in two. We're still working through the design of it.
So there could be two tap in fees?
Right, one for a fire and one for domestic. And Mr. President, while we're at it, I have another request from Spirit to waive a tap-in fee for a sprinkler system for a building on Schweitzer.
Okay. So we're, same thing. And I know, Mr. Brown, you might have to excuse yourself on that one. Yep. And probably on two when it comes to vote, so that might have to lay 3 times. But if we could get that one back too, at the same time, that way, because I know that one's gonna have to lie 3 times because we had 2 members that can't vote on it because of conflicts. So we have both those back. Jeff, we will let you know when that meeting is and if you want to attend. So
Yeah.
Clarence, will you let Ryan know when the meeting is?
Is sewer a part of that as well? I mean, it would be,
It's one,
Okay.
yeah, it's one.
okay, okay. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, John.
Anyone else for a public hearing?
Good evening, members of the Greenville Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Brian Merle. With me is Don Wynn.
Could you state your address?
124 Virginia Avenue.
Mine's 126 Virginia Avenue.
And Don's lived there for, you said, since about 2006. It's about my 4th or 5th tour in Greenville. I grew up in Union City, and I've been so enamored with the city of Greenville, and of course the Maid-Rights, growing up on those all my years. And I've known Councilman Schmidt probably 30 years, maybe, going on that. Really enjoy Greenville. And I moved back in to be a little closer to my mother, and I'm a teacher. I taught media in Union City, and I substitute a lot this year. For my mother's health problems, I like to have the flexibility of a schedule should she need anything, so I'm subbing this year. My wife works at Whirlpool. The reason we're coming up here is I moved in, I lived, Don, about 2017 is when I moved in over there. And we've got a problem with 127 Virginia Avenue. I guess if you want to come and see a Sanford & Son exhibition, feel free to come on down, because it's like there's a scrap business going on in a residential neighborhood. Fortunately, I didn't rent the property I'm at. Don owns his, and if you want to sell your house on Virginia, as long as these residents are having scrap in their yard, and trust me, I've got a whole 16 gigabytes full of video and pictures for you, whoever I need to give it to, so you all can look at it. I'd like to have the flash drive back. But the cops have been called down there numerous times. The couple were busted and spent 2 weeks in jail for ripping off the Tri-Village School. It's a pretty shady area there, and we're kind of tired. Don's woken up in the middle of the night with all the clanging and scrap being thrown from the truck into the yard. No respect anything for the neighbors. And I know that Don and I are probably one of the most vocal, and if anybody will know me, no, I am the most vocal. I do have some footage there. There was an interaction between me and the particular neighbor that lives there, a young kid. Don't want to bring any names, but they're well known in Mercer County and well known in Darke County because I looked them up. But it got pretty profane in the middle of the street when I don't know if Don heard some of it, but it went for about a half hour. A lot of unpleasantries exchanged, some threats were made. Nazi flag was thought about. He said he was going to bring his Nazi flag out and fly it, so that was, kind of a nice thing. But this is the kind of stuff that goes on. Dog constantly barking, and there's a video of abuse of this animal. It constantly gets loose. It's been in my yard several times. I've actually called the police several times. Don's called the police several times. Don't know if they're getting cited or not. But it's just ongoing. It never stops. And it's kind of a pain in the rear end. I mean, they're gone in the middle of the night and they come back with a truckload full of scrap. Now, I don't know who does business at 2 or 3 in the morning, but draw your own conclusions. There was some lawn furniture in the back of this truck that looked pretty dang new to me. Again, not accusing anything. Other things going on. Don's seen it. I've seen it. We try to keep plates, but, car pulls up, vehicle pulls up. They're there for about a minute. Some people come outside. They're gone about a minute later. Draw your own conclusions. Nothing we can prove. I've got cameras all around my place, and I'm sad that I have to do that, but it's the world we live in. The other things is just the speed going down Virginia Avenue. I think it might be 30 miles an hour. It's a suggestion. Easily 40 and 45 down there. And they have 3 kids, and I feel sorry for the kids, but somebody's going to get hit. One of you said it's not a matter of if, it's when. No doubt about it. I don't know if scrap businesses get taxed or not, but, like I said, we're seeing a business in a residential neighborhood, and I feel if Don would ever want to sell his home, nobody's going to want to live in front of that. It's just, it's very hard for me to keep my mouth shut, but that one blow up was a lot of F words exchanged, a lot of profanities, a lot of threats, like I said. Getting tired of the dog, they come and just walk around my yard to grab the dog. All the kids are throwing food at everything. Comes right up to me, and the cops took it away. And the abuse clearly is he smacks it really hard, and he drags it back to the house by his collar. And I've got all that on video, and I posted on Facebook, whether that's good or not. But it's kind of a running thing now. It's kind of entertainment to a lot of my friends, waking up and saying, "Oh, well, what are the Billies going to be doing today?" That's what I call them. I call them the Billies. So that's my nickname. Driving around the neighbor's yard, they drive the truck around the house. It's a rental. They drive it around the house and in the neighbor's yard, but the neighbor's kind of one of those guys who don't want to bring up anything, talk about it, but we'll speak on behalf of them. Don and I constantly message them back and forth. Hey, we're out there now, dog's loose or something like that. Of course, I get out the camera and, record as much as I can. They've been getting a little quieter, but whatever, but they're still, I took some pictures today. I have these are all dated files. Just whatever's in the yard, washers, dryers, grills, scrap, anything. It's just in the yard. You walk by it, it's disgusting to look at. Like I said, I feel sorry for any of the property owners. Don probably knows more than I have. I'm sure they're fed up. But, Don and I seem to be the mouthpieces of the neighborhood. Police have been down there several times down there. I don't know if they're getting cited or not. Utilities are down there, taking out the utilities, hooking them back up. I don't like to stereotype, but it is what it is, man. And I don't know what can be done legally. I know that they got a trailer that they constantly held on the other day. It was 7-8 foot tall, full of scrap of anything. I'd like to know where they're getting it.
And it wasn't even strapped.
Yeah.
Driving it down the road, not even strapped.
The truck they got, the third vehicle that they've had since I've lived there, has got an exhaust issue, or if it's got exhaust at all, we've kind of questioned whether they removed the catalytic converter to sell it for scrap. But very loud, extremely loud in the morning when they take off and stuff like that. It's woken me up several times. Dogs barking woke me up. Like I said, Will and I, they have a cold water lumber bench in the backyard. I'm sure that was appropriated under weird terms. They got a fence in the backyard that I don't know, I don't know if there's an ordinance for that. We just heard the fence thing. I don't know how tall it is, but it's fallen down already. But they built it, and it's kind of lean to or something like that. So that happens every now and then. And like I said, they spent the only peace and quiet that I think Don and I will agree that we've had was the 2 weeks that they were in jail.
Yes.
It was nuts.
Ryan, is this one we've been working on?
Not that I'm aware of.
What's that address again?
127 Virginia. It's a rental, and I believe the gentleman Don knows owns a lot of properties. So I don't know if it's a slumlord situation.
Richard Barton's his name. I had my house appraised last year for a refinance. My house appraisal come back at $115,000. Houses on Oxford are selling for $180,000, $190,000. I losing 75,000 off my house because I got a scrap yard right across the street from my house. Now, I mean, if I go to sell my house and I can only get 115,000 out when it's worth more, who's gonna cover the cost of what I'm losing because we have Sanford and Son across the street?
I believe they were cited sometime because they had a wave runner in the side yard and a bunch of other junk in the side yard, and it, you know, in a truck that wasn't moving anymore. That was all taken away. I think when they were given, possibly they were cited that.
Yes.
They cleaned that up or whatever. Getting back to the dog, there's footage on this where the dog is, you know, being not rained on, just being poured on with no proper shelter or anything. Again, it's constantly loose, and if it's in my yard, it, you know, that's, you know, they live with an old man. I assume it's the, you know, they're probably living off of whatever he's making.
It's his dad.
His dad, and he's threatening me all the time, you know, calling me this MRFer and that, you know, that kind of thing. I'll take that guy out, man. I mean, you know, it's just, I don't want to, but, you know, it's just one of those things. Something's going to come to a head. I've been pretty calm about it, but
Shouldn't have to deal with it.
you're right. You're right. And like I said, I love the city of Greenville. This is my 4th or 5th time here. I've always loved living here, but I've never had a problem whatsoever. So dogs live there longer, and it's been a very peaceful neighborhood until.
Let us work on it. I know Ryan and I have worked on a couple of projects. There was one down on Howard that sounded just almost as bad that we got cleaned up. So Ryan, I'm sure you've got some ideas.
But I'll be glad to turn this over to whoever I need to, so you all can look at it.
If I could have it.
I'd just like to have it back, sir.
Yeah, if you.
I myself have
you
talked to
have
Mr. Aislinger.
some contact.
I went to his office, talked to him about it.
Councilman Schmidt.
I think he sent him a letter.
Facebook.
They cleaned the stuff up, and maybe about a week or two later, they said, forget you, Greenville, here we go again. And they got even worse.
You'll find they have a very problem, abuse of authority, or, you know, they don't like it.
They don't like it.
We appreciate you coming up, and the neighbors should have to put up with some of the things you're saying,
Got a
so.
lot of retired folks on that block that's trying to, you know, the rest of their years be in peace. There's no peace down there with them.
It'd be.
There's no room in Greenville for those guys.
For that address. I'm sure it's logged somewhere.
Okay.
Appreciate you coming out.
We appreciate your
Yep.
time.
Ryan, you've got contact info? Okay, all right. We'll get in touch with you.
Don't worry, nothing's gonna happen, but when you gotta defend yourself, that's when it's gonna come to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And trust me, these are the kind of folks that'll do.
Yeah, their attitudes.
Yep. Thank you for coming up.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Anyone else, public hearing?
Thanks, John.
All right, if no one else will come up, we will start off with administration report. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. I got a few announcements to make. A few things have been going on or coming up. We're still working on Memorial Day Parade. That'll be May 29th. We probably will start around 1 p.m. Trying to find a speaker for the cemetery ceremony. We're working on that, so that'll be coming up. I'll let you know more. We just met with some people at DAR, and I can't think of the lady's name, the family that put that Gold Star thing in. I can't remember. Anyway, we out near the entrance of the park, there's a memorial, and it's Gold Star Mothers Memorial, and it was put in many years ago. The family member came forward and is going to work for the DAR and is going to. They're raising money, and they're going to change the wording to be families, Gold Star, be Gold Star families. So we're going to help them out. We're going to pull some bushes out and clean it up a little bit, and then they're going to have somebody come in and change the lettering, and then we'll have a ceremony of some sort down the road. So we had a picture taken the other day to get it started. A couple of veterans organizations have already stepped forward, and it was kind of an interesting time. I was at a committee meeting to work on the Memorial Day Parade, and two representatives from a couple of the Veterans Associations said, we'll just split it. We're sure we're going to be able to do it. We'll bring it up when we get back to home, and they're going to take care of the costs. So it's just pretty amazing. This is an awesome deal. So it's something that the park board's gonna hear about a little bit. We kind of said yes, we'll do it, but we'll make sure the park board's on board, and since it's in the park, so something coming up. I was able to go to the health department breakfast, talked to a new administrator, a new director of the health department, Jordan Francis. He had a nice, a presentation, I guess, on making community better and healthier, and that's what they're all about. So it was very interesting, and certainly wish him the best. And if you ever get a chance to meet him, he's a great guy, very personable, and I think he's going to do a great job for the county and the city. So there's a proclamation coming out. We just did a proclamation. We are a majority. We do that every year, and that's the kids that belong to us, or kids in school that want to tell everybody that the majority of kids don't use drugs. So that's the reason they did a march down Broadway and back on either side, went down the sidewalks and had all the signs and just talking about it to people. So that's fun to watch them do that and be a part of that. So good deal. We just did that a week ago. We're meeting with the commissioners and the DAR. They're kind of heading up a committee. We're trying to form more people in a committee to plan on the nation's 250th anniversary. So I'm sure that they would welcome anybody's input. So see anybody involved in that. We'll have another meeting coming up. We're gonna let you know when that is. We also met with, I met with the commissioners. We had a joint proclamation signing for the child abuse awareness. And if you noticed outside the commissioners building, the courthouse, you have the little pinwheels out there, and those each represent a child that's was abused in the county. So quite a few of them. It's too bad that there's that many, no doubt. So it's the proclamations for abuse and awareness and prevention. And then tomorrow I'm going to meet with ministers in the area, and I'll have a proclamation that's to promote the National Day of Prayer versus May 4th. So as details come up on that, where and when, I'll let you know. But well, yeah, I can email it out or whatever. It's a little bit second. I can't remember the calendar. Day after a meeting, maybe?
2 days.
2 days.
2 days after. It's a second, meeting's the second. Okay. I'll let you know then when it's at, where it's at. With that, I'll pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Delk, Safety Service Director.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would be happy to answer any questions on legislation tonight, but I will pass.
Any questions for Mr. Delk?
How's Ohio Street coming?
I was just gonna say that.
You can get off that easy.
Ohio Street, where's that now? Ohio Street's coming well. Waiting, I think I mentioned last time, so we're waiting on the boring crew to come in to bore the water line. That's kind of the holdup as of now. 2 weeks ago, they said they were at least 6 weeks out, so somewhere in that 4 to 6 week time frame. They are starting to set up some signage in case we do have to do some detouring, so it's ramping up, but we'll be getting all the information out if we do have to close Ohio Street down.
Thanks.
And we are putting new traffic lights with crosswalks.
Yep, they'll have new traffic light, ped signals.
That's not great.
I
Okay.
went that way 3 times this week. Like, just can't seem to remember.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Delk? All right, move on to Law Director, Mr. Raymond.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just 2 quick items on the legislation that we have tonight. One is under the supplemental. I know we had talked last week about the fire chief's campaign and raising funds. You'll notice in the supplemental, there's a $2,000 donation to that campaign, which is actually going to allow them to solicit for more funds and grow that. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of that. And then secondly, there's an agreement, a CRA agreement with GPS services, computer services, and more. A requirement of that is that it was sent to the school board. They've been provided notice of that. They didn't have any comments back to us. We don't need their approval, but we do need the notice for them. And what that does is it abates some of the taxes on the improvements that are going to be made out there. Again, it puts us in a better position than we are now. A little bit of something more is better than nothing of what we have now. So that's been negotiated, and everyone's in agreement on that as well. And then I'll entertain any questions anyone has.
All right. Thank you, Mr. All Director. City Auditor, Ms. Woolman.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. First of all, I wanted to remind everyone, you should have received a questionnaire from the auditors, and I hope you will get those turned back into them timely. Is there anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about?
As I say, I don't think I've received anything.
Okay. You might want to check with me tomorrow because they should have all gone out at the same time, I would imagine.
They were coming out email.
Yes, yes. So,
Was there a title on it so that I can go back? I've kind of gotten behind on some emails due to a family matter.
I don't know. I actually did not see that questionnaire. They just asked me for all of your email addresses so they could send it out.
I got one that I was kind of thinking it was something like that. I was quite questionable about, just going to ask you about it. So that's
You want me
probably
to
it.
double check on that?
What was it?
For us?
If you would, please.
I will do
Because
that.
that way, if I have something I can zero in on, it'll make it a little easier.
Okay,
Like Norm.
Could you possibly just send out an email reminder to
sure.
everyone?
Absolutely, I can
Okay.
do that.
Yeah, because I think I seen it and I thought, spam.
And I'm thinking that's what I did too.
I did too, sure.
Because it wasn't, like, it didn't have a good name, like, it was just a firm, like, whatever firm it was that sent it, like, and so I was just,
Julian and Grube, yes.
Yeah.
just assumed it was
Right.
somebody trying
Didn't
to.
have a name that I thought, I don't care.
Yes, exactly. So,
So you all basically ignored it as
We
well.
were,
So,
we were trying to be good stewards.
Yeah, we didn't want to clear it.
When was it sent out?
they, a little over a week ago, they asked for all of your addresses. So I would say sometime last week, you probably got it, but I will send out a reminder. And maybe if I can even get a copy of what they sent to you, I can send, along with that reminder, I can send that along to you as well.
in the past, did they send something out, like something to sign and was returned back? I don't ever remember an email audit.
It's not an audit,
Or-
it's a questionnaire.
Questionnaire, I don't ever remember.
They did that last year as well. So,
Okay.
anyway, I'll get back with you folks on that so that you make sure we get it.
Okay.
The only other item I have, Mr. Council President, is we need to set a public hearing for an agricultural district renewal application that the auditor's office recently received.
Okay, so we have a 7 o'clock meeting. Do you remember which one that
On the
was?
2nd, we do.
On the 22nd?
No, the 2nd of May.
Next meeting.
Can we do it at the same time?
Right, meeting.
So this is a public hearing, just like you would set for the public hearing we done the zoning recommendation.
Right.
So it would just be scheduled during whatever council meeting you'd like to do.
Okay, yep. You can just set that for the next meeting then.
Okay. That I will pass.
All right, any other questions for the city auditor? All right, moving on to committee reports, we have none. Moving on to ordinance and resolutions. Number 1 is a supplemental ordinance.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. The supplemental ordinance allows for appropriations in the general fund and the sum as follows. Office supplies, council expense in the amount of $2,000. These funds are for a donation to the Dark County Association Fire Chiefs for a fire training facility. Travel and Education Police Department in the amount of $3,860. These funds are needed to cover police department travel and education through year end. New Equipment Police Department in the amount of $6,250. These funds are to help pay for the upfit of a cruiser for canine use. Professional Services City Building in the amount of $20,000. These funds will cover janitorial services through year end in the event that a janitor is not hired.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second and third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read this ordinance second and third time by title only. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023. An ordinance to make additional appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Greenville, State of Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023.
Move to adopt the ordinance.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt the ordinance. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, next we have a resolution authorizing bidding for contracts for the water plant chemicals.
A resolution authorizing bidding for contracts for water plant chemicals. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to bid for contracts for water treatment chemicals to be used in calendar year 2024.
Move to suspend the rules and give this second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this resolution second, third reading by title only. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing bidding for contracts for water plant chemicals. A resolution authorizing bidding for contracts for water plant chemicals.
Move to adopt?
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to adopt. Discussion. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Resolution authorizing bidding jointly with Greenville City School District for fuel, and this does have emergency clause.
A resolution authorizing bidding jointly with Greenville City School District to acquire fuel and declaring an emergency. This resolution authorizes the Safety Service Director to solicit bids for a vehicle fuel acquisition contract in conjunction with Greenville City Schools. This resolution has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules on this resolution, give it second, third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to suspend the rules, give this resolution second, third reading by title only. Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing bidding jointly with Greenville City School District to acquire fuel and declaring an emergency. A resolution authorizing bidding jointly with Greenville City School District to acquire fuel and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt emergency clause. Call the, any discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Brown to adopt. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Number 4, a resolution authorizing a CRA agreement between the city and GPS Computer Services and More LLC, and this has emergency clause also.
A resolution authorizing a Community Reinvestment Area CRA agreement between the City of Greenville and GPS Computer Services and More LLC within Greenville CRA area and declaring an emergency. This resolution authorizes the City of Greenville to enter into a Community Reinvestment Area agreement with GPS Computer Services and More LLC, who intends to make improvements of $3 million to the parcel on KitchenAid Way. This resolution has an emergency clause.
Move to suspend the rules and give this resolution its second and third reading by title only.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to suspend the rules, give this resolution second and third reading by title only. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution authorizing a Community Reinvestment Area CRA agreement between the City of Greenville and GPS Computer Services and More LLC within Greenville CRA area and declaring an emergency. A resolution authorizing a Community Reinvestment Area CRA agreement between the City of Greenville and GPS Computer Services and More LLC within Greenville CRA area and declaring an emergency.
Move to adopt the emergency clause.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt emergency clause. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Moved by Mr. Rogers to adopt. Discussion? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Ely?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
And finally, number 5, a resolution ratifying previous agreement with Dorothy Sharp dated April 21st, 1998 regarding property easement.
A resolution ratifying the agreement signed by Victor A. Sharp and Dorothy M. Sharp on April 21st, 1998 with the City of Greenville. This resolution ratifies the agreement previously signed by Victor and Dorothy Sharp dated April 21st, 1998 and signed by Mayor Richard Ramert regarding the easement of their property.
Make a motion to suspend the rules on this ordinance and read it by title only, second, third time.
Moved by Mr. Godwin to suspend the rules, read this by second, third by title only. Discussion.
Can I ask what this is?
This is discussion on suspending the rules. So when,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
Any discussion on suspending the rules? Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Healy?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
A resolution ratifying the agreement signed by Victor A. Sharp and Dorothy M. Sharp on April 21st, 1998 with the City of Greenville. A resolution ratifying the agreement signed by Victor A. Sharp and Dorothy M. Sharp on April 21st, 1998 with the City of Greenville.
Move to adopt.
Moved by Mr. Whitaker to adopt.
Now I can ask my question.
Discussion.
Sorry, I jumped the gun. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
This deals with a property on Jaysville St. John's that's across from the industrial park. The property currently has its own private septic and sewer. They're having some issues with that, and they're looking at tapping into the City of Greenville's and annexing their property in. The property owner actually came up with an agreement and said, look, I negotiated all this back in 1998. Here's the agreement signed by the mayor, which waived some fees. At that point in time, where they actually gave an easement across their land to help us get to the industrial park. When we were going back through the legislation, we just realized that it had never been formally adopted. So this adopts the agreement that's been in place, and then we're still kind of working through whether or not they are going to, in fact, annex in. They actually have the land to be able to replace their septic if they wanted to. This just kind of provides some options to them. So
it's that land right there on 571 in Jaysville?
It's further to the south.
It's right
like where
across
the
from like
railroad.
the old Cadillac gauge. There's like 3 ranch houses right there. It's the one closest to the railroad tracks.
Okay.
First one.
Okay. So if you're going south, it's on the right.
And essentially, all this agreement does is it clarifies that they gave us an easement across their property, and for that easement, the compensation was that we would waive their tap-in fees if and when they ever came into the city.
Just never got recorded.
Correct.
Yep.
We couldn't find where it had been approved by council.
Got you. Any other discussion?
Thank you.
Call the roll.
Rogers?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Whitaker?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Healy?
Yes.
Godwin?
Yes.
Norris?
Yes.
All right, that completes the ordinances and resolutions. New business, we have nothing. Under old business, we have a tabled zoning amendment recommendation.
So what happens with that? Just out of curiosity.
So we would, to untable it, we would have to have a majority, is that correct? Yep.
And so does it just stay tabled for till the end of time, or?
In theory. And then it falls into one of those awkward situations where because it needs 75% or more to go against the recommendation, but a majority to uphold it, we haven't been able to fall within those guidelines. And so under other legislation where it doesn't fall into that, if it sits for a while, or if it's tabled and doesn't come off, it goes away. My opinion is because it's specifically stated in the planning and zoning ordinances that it has to fall in one of those two categories, I don't feel comfortable with letting it go away, so it'll remain on the agenda until either we get more than 75%,
Sun doesn't shine anymore.
or someone has a change in heart, so.
Okay, very good.
Just to be clear, how many has to have a change of heart?
And so I believe previously it had been 5-2, and so to go against the recommendation, it would need to be a 6-1 vote or more, and to uphold the recommendation, it would need to be a 4-3 vote.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, moving on, council for representatives outside committee, architecture review board, I think that is.
Yeah, that's me.
Mr. Whitaker.
We didn't meet the month before last. We had a meeting last week, and we approved a sign for Happily Ever. They're a woman's boutique. They're moving 2 doors down, and they've got a new sign that we approved and met with all the specifications, and she's going to be moving into their new location, which is near Montage, thank you. And they're going to be moving in on May 5th, and I believe the sign might be done now. I think she said they were putting it up last Sunday, but we gave her approval of that, and that was all we had.
Okay. Communications.
We're seeing the first quarterly report from the fire department.
Okay, call of council.
Rogers?
Yes, even though it hasn't been in the city of Greenville, we've lost 2 people out of Dark County yesterday, and condolences to the families and so forth. And, you know, we just seem to be in that rut, whereas the weather's getting better and so forth, people aren't watching maybe quite as closely as they should for other traffic. So we hope that maybe that solves itself and we can go on and not have the fatalities in the Dark County area. With that, I pass.
Schmidt?
I noticed we have some students out here tonight. Are you, is this a project that you have to come up?
Our government class, he told us we have to come to 2 meetings a year.
Who's your teacher?
Mr. Beard at Tri-Village.
Tri-Village. All right, well, welcome to City Council. Hope we kept you awake.
So when you see Mr. Bear tomorrow, tell him, you know, I gave you guys their condolences having him for a teacher. So.
I will.
He is a great guy. You should be fortunate to have him.
So would it be fair to say that you're here under duress? You just don't really want to be here, right?
Yes, no, yes.
Well, we welcome you anyway.
I will pass, Jessica.
Whitaker?
Robin and I had an opportunity to attend the Ohio Developmental Disabilities Council meeting held last Thursday and Friday, April 13th and 14th in Columbus. We were invited by Mr. Matt Harrison, sitting over there, who is the only representative to this council. He was originally appointed by Governor John Kasich, and he's been renewed by another appointment by Governor Mike DeWine, and he's been doing a fantastic job as a vice chairman of the Leadership Development Committee. We went to that meeting, and we found out that this is one of a few committee meetings which we attended, but this particular meeting pointed out their mission is to improve and expand the opportunities for people with developmental disabilities to get employment in their community. Matt has been often employed in Greenville, and he's a very productive member of society, as well as his wife, and they're to be commended. Matt, I want to point out something that he did as a citizen last week. He sent me a picture of a piece of rebar that was sticking out of a broken up sidewalk on 4th Street by the bridge, and he brought that to my attention. He quite a heads up move there, and I brought it to Ryan, and they got it taken care of. They sawed off that piece of rebar that was sticking out, and it was quite a trip hazard out there and quite a libelous situation for the city. So thanks to Matt for bringing that up. The Ohio Developmental Disability Council is committed to advancing public policy and systems change that helps individuals with developmental disabilities gain more control of their lives and be included in the communities. And my biggest takeaway from all that is that people with developmental disabilities shouldn't be looked at as if they're not with it, because believe me, there's some sharp people in that room, and all they want to do is become productive, assimilated members of society just like everybody else, and they're willing to work and make a living for themselves. And Matt, thank you. Appreciate being able to go. With that, I pass.
Brown?
Just welcome to the government class that doesn't want to be here. And everybody else. Just recognition for Chief and the fire department yesterday. I happened to be standing at Spirit when the fire broke out in the trailer park right next to us, and started to walk that direction, and anyway, there wasn't much left for when that thing took off. So, however, several surrounding trailers, and they did a good job, and saved a lot of people from having a really bad day. So, kept it to one guy. So, with that, I'll pass.
Ely?
I'd like to say thank you for your coming and putting up with a council meeting. It's always interesting, I will say that. And I also want to send a thank you to Ryan Delk. I had to visit with him. I went to visit with him. I didn't have to. I wanted to visit with him because I needed to have some instructions about some things that I'm interested in. So I figured if somebody could school me on it, it would be Ryan. So again, thank you. And I am developing a follow-up meeting. So I'll make an appointment to see you soon. So thank you for your time and listening to my questions. And I'm sure sometimes you're like, why would she ask that? But that's me. So thank you. And with that, I pass.
Godwin.
Just like to thank all the students for coming. You know, seeing some of you out there was yawning. At least you stayed awake for all this. And everybody be safe out there, and I'll pass.
Norris.
Yeah, we appreciate the students coming. You know, you got to start someplace. Thank Kim back in the corner because she had it set to 60 degrees to make sure you stayed awake. So, if nobody's been out in the park around the high school in the last week or two, we got a couple of weeks coming up. Softball, Lady Waves playing Thursday night. It's going to be a perfect night. 5 o'clock at home. 7th and 8th grade have been blazing with excellent records. Track and field, we're back at it again Wednesday. Saturday will be the junior high meet. So there's lots going on. If you want to attend a sporting event, when the weather is not 30 degrees, as it's coming up here, the next couple of days is going to be perfect out there. So lots to do with the school system out there. With that, I'll pass.
President Baumgartner.
Yeah, to add to that, tomorrow night is senior night for track, so I have the honor of walking my exchange student across the field, so it's kind of cool. My wife's a teacher at Tri-Village, so I'll make sure she reports back that you are all very well behaved, okay?
You asked lots of questions.
Yes. And I wanted to share a quick story. For the Greenville Fire Department on Saturday, I had a call in the township. It was actually my nephew's house. And there was a pretty good fire in the basement. There was 2 animals in the house, and the one was actually the resource dog for Tri-Village that they lost. It succumbed to the smoke. But there was a dog, the other dog inside. A Greenville firefighter actually got it out. It wasn't breathing. And the township put oxygen on it and got it to breathing in, and the dog's doing really well. But just kudos to the fire department for getting that dog and saving it. With that, I pass.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Call the roll.
Rogers.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Whitaker.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Seeley.
Yes.
Godwin.
Yes.
Norris.
Yes.
Thanks, Matt, for coming up.
You got it.